Yeah, but they weren't, and Bush is out of office, and there's still people getting killed in Iraq today.
Right.
But that said, that's history. What do we do tomorrow?
Well,
right?
we bring the boys home. First, we bring the boys home, okay?
Yeah. All right, but now on a personal level of my personal history, going back, 7, 8 years now, I filed whistleblower forms with the Treasury Department. They kept trying to lock me up, shut me up, do all kinds of things. I sued 3 U.S. Treasury agents along with a host of judges and lawyers in 2 lawsuits in Massachusetts pursuant to the Constitution of Massachusetts. I sued them in a state court, not a federal court. Each state has its own constitution. According to the rules, I had waited the 6 months. You can't sue a Fed until you give him 6 months to do his job. When the bell tolled 6 months, even though I was keeping my stuff in confidence to them, they kept trying to lock me up. When the bell tolled 6 months, the gloves come off. But before I sent the sheriffs out, I went to Canada, and this was in 2002, and I served your ambassador, Paul Salucci, to Canada, the complete copies of the lawsuits with the exhibits attached. They were prima facie lawsuits. The evidence was attached. The evidence was irrefutable.
Right.
And served the representative for your Secretary of State in my native land, Paul Salucci, to let Colin Powell know that the Americans were going to have a heck of a spit and chew with a wild colonial boy if somebody didn't start acting ethically. Right? There should be no need for a legal argument about obvious matters. All I wanted was 3 IRS agents, or 2 IRS agents and 1 Treasury agent, to be chastised. Now, instead of doing that, a legal argument begun. The U.S. attorney grabbed the matter, took it to federal court, disobeyed many laws, many rules of state court and federal court, tried to make it all go away. It didn't work out too well for him. I took him on. He got embarrassed. He bounced it back to state court after editing out cardinal law and 3 Treasury agents. When it got back to state court, the state court had to start awarding me judgments by default. I won simply because all of the crooked lawyers and stuff were so cocksure that the U.S. attorney was going to make it go away, they never even answered me.
But they not only answered you. Now, is this why they try to put you in Guantanamo Bay?
Yes. Once I started winning judgments by default before the war in Iraq started. But in September of 2002, I realized, because we lived in Milton, Massachusetts, the same town where George H.W. Bush was born to his proud daddy.
Right, he's not a Texan. That's right. Let's say George Bush.
Yeah, they're Yankee carpetbaggers.
Let me ask you, but George Bush is as much a Texan as, and this isn't meant to be racial, as a Mexican that becomes we're talking about the legal. We're talking about the ones that become, let me just say, an immigrant that comes from another country. That's
irrelevant.
Right.
We're all immigrants.
Well, right, but the point I'm trying to make, George Bush,
just in a different part of the country.
But what I'm saying is he's not a naturalized American, a naturalized person from Massachusetts is what I'm trying to say. We're all Americans.
George Bush was born in Connecticut.
Right, so he's not a naturalized.
George H.W. Bush was born in, but that's irrelevant. Is he an American? Yeah.
Well, yeah, the point I'm trying to make, it is irrelevant, but here's why I think it's not entirely irrelevant. He prides himself, among the Texans and the good old boys. He tries to pride himself that, I'm a Texan and he was born and raised in Texas,
Who cares?
And what I'm saying, well, I know what you're saying, but what I'm trying to say is everything he's telling us, even from where he from,
but Texas
is a lie. I'm trying to establish.
No, but Texans know them for what they are. The Texans call them carpetbaggers.
True, but the rest of the country, the people in Texas and Massachusetts know that, but the people in Georgia, South Carolina, Nevada, many of them don't. Okay, what I'm trying to show is the former president was a psychopathic liar.
Just because he's a bullshitter about
he was a great bullshitter
or whatever. Yeah, but just because he wants to claimed to be a Texan. He was governor of Texas, wasn't he?
Oh, he was governor. Yeah, but he,
I would say that makes him a Texan.
Right.
But all that said, it doesn't matter. I'm talking about money. And see, I'd blown the whistle on a bank in Brookline, Massachusetts, basically a couple towns over from Milton, and I thought it had to do with Democrats and Kennedys. You understand I was investigating estates and trusts from family members buried right beside Rose Kennedy. Why would the Republicans care if I'm embarrassing Democrats? Right?
Absolutely.
But it turned out, it's just as we say, they're all the same, and it looked like Republicans must have been watching money through the same bank. Now, the president of that bank, one bank in one town with 5 branches within one town, the president makes more money than the president of Bank of America. Who owned the bank? Putnam Investments. Who owned them? Marsh McClellan. Now, when I blew the whistle on financial crimes with Form 211s with the Treasury Department, when I was in federal court dealing with Michael Sullivan, who was temporary boss or director, whatever the hell you call it, of ATF, and nobody wanted him, that everybody was worried about the guns, didn't want Michael Sullivan, I was arguing him in U.S. District Court in 2002 because he was a U.S. attorney.
Wow, arguing the ATF. Yeah, the ATF's another organization. The guys that like to kick in the doors.
Yeah, well, Michael Sullivan was he had to step down on January 20th, right?
Yeah, Bureau of Arbitrary Findings and Edicts. Go ahead.
Yeah, but all the guys who loved the Second Amendment didn't want Michael Sullivan, the head of ATF, right?
Oh, the guy was. I have no respect for the guy. You're absolutely right.
I hate him. He's a crook. He's more than a crook.
More than a crook. He's a socialist and he's a communist.
Well, I know he's a crook. Never mind his politics. I know he's a crook, right?
Right.
So anyway, that said, he is also as dumb as a post, and that's the best part, because he served upon me documents that raised a huge flag to me that, wow, I'm getting documents from Ashcroft. This goes to the executive office, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm looking at this and going, this involves the Bushes, too. The light dawns on my Marblehead. So, I introduced myself to the auditors of that bank, Grant Thornton. They quit third quarter of auditing the bank for the SEC. I knew I was onto something then, right? They hired KPMG, the same auditors that are in trouble with Bernie Madoff today. And never forget, a former commissioner of the RCMP was a partner in KPMG back then. It involves my country, too. So I'm looking at this, and I'm going, wow. So what I did is I bought shares in the bank, refused to release my proxy, and was going to go to the shareholders' meeting to let my fellow shareholders know why my complaints in federal court was going to cause an awful problem for their interest in this bank. You know what I mean? Because I had found bank accounts held open in dead people's names years after their estates were closed, and clearly no 1099s were filed with the IRS. So anyway, in March of 2003, the war in Iraq was pending. People around the world were protesting against the possibility of it. I had received these judgments by default. I had received 4 on March the 18th, 2003. I faxed them all over the world. I called law offices and deans of law schools, faxed the documents. I'm saying, will somebody pay attention to me? So anyway, one of the judges that I was suing, he knew he was going to lose too because the Attorney General of Massachusetts had failed to defend him. So he obviously picked up the phone and he called the Secret Service. The Patriot Act had just taken effect, and the Treasury Department lost the Secret Service to the DHS. So this judge picks up the phone and falsely claims that I had made a presidential threat. Well, the onus is upon the Secret Service to investigate, particularly when a judge gives you a call, right?
Right.
So they come to my house in Milton, Massachusetts, in the middle of the night with cops and guns, because they got to bring the cops because it's all about jurisdiction, and investigate, as well they should, right? Allegations of a presidential threat, because they're made by a credible individual, a judge, right? A judge wouldn't lie, would he?